join soon. I sent the link out a few different times and in a few different ways. So hopefully they can see.
Oh, did you go on the Adobe meeting?
No, I was gonna be able to when he was gonna do it on Saturday, but then he changed and Monday night I couldn't. So
I know, me neither. I couldn't watch it.
so, but it's nice that they're recorded because we can go back and look at them. So. Okay, so any of you have questions? That's what the study guide or group meeting is today.
Yeah.
We have to post a question about anything we're still unclear on or continue a conversation from last week's board. Then we have to help each other understand. Last week we were talking a lot about families and rules of families, I remember, and what else were we talking about? We were talking about feedback, well, homeostasis, feedback loops.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about systems theory.
Yeah, which I guess is kind of my question. So, because we're talking about this week addiction in families, and they're week or lesson 10 and lesson 11 are like on the same page. So usually that means that they're tied to each other. Have you guys seen how family systems explicitly plays a role in addictions? Like I get the whole feedback loop. Is
Yeah.
that how it plays? Because they talked a ton in the presentation about loops. They had like 3 or 4 different scenarios with loops and roles.
Mhm.
So is that how it ties in?
And they also talked about
The cycle.
equilibrium. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Like that chemical, what that chemical,
Okay.
you know, balance does and
Yeah.
how you want it. And then they also talked about the roles, family roles, which I feel
Yeah,
like
and the like the enabler and the heroes and the which
Yeah.
that was so cool to me to hear him portray himself as a hero because I was like thinking, no, you're only the addict. That's the only role you can fill. But then they put it into context of their family and their families, like their siblings, marriages, and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like that makes it harder for you to speak out. That makes the shame factor bigger because you feel like you're better, or not better, but you feel like you're in a healthier relationship than your siblings. So
Yeah, and also
it wasn't clear. I don't know. What it wasn't clear for me was the fact that they say, okay, you cannot tell them you're disappointing me. You are like, you cannot play shame or guilt. So then how do you really
help them know that it's wrong.
yeah. I mean, if you cannot tell them I'm disappointed,
she talked about that, how they talked about it at the end. They answered one of those questions. And he said if they're confessing to you, then most likely they already know their behavior is wrong and they already have some sense of guilt. And in the presentation, she said that shame and guilt are I am bad, and I disagree. I think shame is I am bad, but guilt is I've done a bad thing. Guilt is the behavior, shame is the person. And that helps me separate it in my mind because if you are coming, I mean, think of when we were little and we broke something and we had to go tell our moms and we were just, like how our moms reacted. Like if your mom freaked out and yelled at you, you were way less likely to go tell her when you did something, like when you broke something again. But if she said, it's okay, let's go clean up the mess and didn't let you, I mean, wasn't like, oh, it's okay, when she was like, oh, that makes me really sad.
Exactly. That's
I don't think that's what they were saying.
Clear.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they were saying. I think in his case, because it has been such a long standing addiction that's affected his whole life, I think that they had to treat it a little bit differently rather than somebody who, is coming out to their spouse or a friend or whatever saying, hey, I've been struggling with this for a few years. I mean, because he was 29 when that presentation was made. I think that's a few years old. So at this point, he's like in his 30s and he started viewing pornography when he was 11. So it's like a 2-decade thing at this point. Like that's a long thing to be worried about. So I think they kind of treated it like a different beast because of that.
Okay, but
Well,
how would you achieve
so
that? What would
my
you tell them?
experience,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so my experience is my first boyfriend, my high school sweetheart, he had a pretty serious addiction to porn. And it was a year into our relationship that he confessed to me. And I did not tell him I was disappointed or say that I thought he was doing something wrong because he did know. He knew the moment he got into
Exactly. You like come to him with your
that it
head
was wrong.
down, like yeah,
So
like
what did you do?
So I just asked him, what can I do to help support you as you are trying to stop? And so he told me the things that he has done to try to stop, and I would just support him in those.
those endeavors.
Obviously a little different dynamic because he was just my boyfriend. We weren't having sex. Like I wasn't like married to him. But like he would always, if he slipped up, he was accountable to tell me when he viewed pornography. Um, like I just I just didn't shame him because it wasn't not productive.
Exactly.
He knows.
It's
Like
like
so I
rubbing salt in the wound. It just
yeah,
hurts
so it's just
more.
kind of like I don't need to say it. It's already being said by him saying it. Like he he had horribly low self-esteem and he knew like it was really affecting his self-worth. So I just tried to build him up and to tell him all his amazing qualities that he has and that porn is just an addiction that he can get control of. It doesn't mean he is a bad person because he
Yeah.
it's like what he said, separate the behavior from their
From the
worth.
addict.
Yeah. So they're still a person with divine
Like
worth.
love the sinner, not the sin, you know?
Yeah. Because love the sinner, hate the sin.
I admire her so much. I think
Yeah.
she's a very strong woman because I mean they've been dealing with that for such a long time, and then just the two of them as a couple because the family didn't know.
Yeah.
Finally, the family found out,
Well, yeah, because he was like in the newspapers. So, yeah.
and then the
It's really
family
sad.
supported her decision if she wanted to get a divorce. They were like, we're not gonna judge you. We're just gonna, if that's what you want, it's fine.
Yep. Absolutely. Is this lesson on the test? It is, right? Lesson 11 is on the test.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why. That's why. See, I start looking at the book again, and I'm like, is there anything on that subject? But it's not.
Honestly, I think it'll just be like know the handout about like the roles that like the hero and the scapegoat and
Yeah, yeah.
the loner, and then maybe some high points from the presentation. The cycles are
The
huge.
cycle.
The shame cycle, I've studied that before in other classes, but it can be a really big help. The addiction cycle. I think he called it the addiction cycle. I've heard it called the shame cycle. Both.
I like how she used a specific term when she was going over their two cycles. She said they're
like her cycle
I don't
and his
remember what she
cycle.
said, but yeah, that they're connected, that they turn each other. What is that term?
Oh yeah, like the cogs in the clock.
Yes.
How they
Yes,
have
yes.
to, they each turn each other. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was so interesting for me to see because, like, to hear their story and then see that, like, see it visually what the cycles represented. I was like, okay, I get it now. Like, I'm really glad she put that in there because that helped a ton.
You know what I like? The marriage cycles. That when she said that how she felt and how he felt.
Like he would feel shame and then she would pull back and he would feel more shame and
And
I
she
sure
will
did.
distract herself with the school and work just to not to think about what was going on. So I thought that was
Well, and I think it was so brave of them to talk about intimacy. Like that girl who asked that question, I'm like, thank you,
God.
thank you. I'm like, I was thinking about it, but I wouldn't have asked it if I was there. But
Yeah.
how she was like, it's not healthy to withhold it from him. And I'm like, you do what you want, girl. And then I'm like, wait a second. Not my battle, not my fire,
Well,
but
because when she said that you cannot punish the person by
exactly,
withholding,
you can't. And
like,
so
I
I've
don't know.
heard so many people say, because one of the professors at BYU Idaho that I'm really close with, he counseled porn addicts and their families for like decades. And he said that so many users have like two minds. They have their using mind and they have their like themself mind, or their mind. And their using mind is when the limbic system is controlled. Like he said, the limbic system is like the horse of the brain or the animal. It like goes and goes and goes. And then the frontal cortex is like the hey, cool it, calm down. We can be rational about this. It's the human side. And so the horse is the limbic system and the frontal cortex is the rider. The rider's pulling on the reins. And so he said so many times I meet families who are like, behind closed doors is a complete new term because who they are when they view porn is so different from who they are like on a daily basis and as a father and as a husband and as a worker. And so if you're punishing them, then that makes it harder for them to act in the healthy roles and distance themselves from that other person.
Yeah, but how can you just be okay
Yeah.
when
I
you
don't
know
I
that?
don't think she was just okay. I think it took a long time. I really do. Cuz they've been married at that point they've been married for almost 10 years and it
She
was
also and she knew before they got
from like
Yeah.
exactly. She knew before they got married and then she knew about his relapses 6 months into their marriage. So this wasn't
and
like we've been married for decades and we have 6 kids together and you're just now telling me. Like this was a pretty
yeah.
constant theme. Not excusing him or anything, but
No, but
And
I think that was a very difficult situation.
for sure.
I don't know. I think that it just takes a special kind of people to deal with situations like that. So I
well,
think that
yeah. I love how he mentioned that scripture where God turns
Oh
me.
yeah.
I feel like that is what they're showing by giving this presentation. Literally, he has battled with this addiction, and it is a weakness, but he is making it a strength by being able to reach out to others. Yeah, it's like
Well, and
you're already doing it, man.
yeah, well, okay, so in the very beginning, because they didn't really give any like intro to the presentation on iLearn. It was just like, watch this guest lecture, and I'm like, they're probably just gonna be talking about the cycles of addiction and the brain. It was like really, I was ready to be bored. And then she started talking, and I'm like, oh,
I
I
thought
don't
that
know her.
I didn't hear well, so I had to replay it at the I'm like, I cannot.
Well, and then he started talking about it, and I was like, he's the one with the addiction.
Yeah.
Is he talking about his porn addiction? Because it's so taboo, it's so hush hush, I know tons of people. I mean, I don't have enough fingers to count how many people I know, like just in my life personally that I talk to, who have struggled or do struggle with this addiction. And so when he started talking about it, I was like, he's actually talking about his porn addiction. And then he got further into it, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is so good. And I just could not stop watching. Because when I first saw that it was over an hour long, I was like, oh.
I know, like that was
But
gonna
then
be long.
but then it was over, and I was like, no, it's over. It's so good. So
And
yeah.
they had a long time answering questions. It was about 45
They
or
had
50 minutes.
Yeah, they had
Just
more answering questions than presenting. For sure.
yeah.
Oh, show.
See, here is like because I wrote down a few things, but it says what doesn't work. It doesn't work being disappointed, making them feel shameful, or policing the addictive person. Okay, I agree with the policing, but on making them feel shameful. But being disappointed, I don't know. I still question that part.
Well, I think the smoker analogy was really powerful for me Because like if somebody was smoking 4 packs a day and they're being told by their doctors, you're gonna die, you're gonna get cancer, this is bad for you, and then so they're like, okay, and their goal for that day is I'm gonna not smoke 4, I'm gonna smoke 3, then you're gonna physically be able to see that change. They're not gonna have 4 packs of cigarettes, they're only gonna have 3. You can physically see it. It's like they're making little steps towards it. So for him, his counselor was telling him, you're gonna go to jail, you know. People were threatening him. His probation officer was mad at him. It was going to be a big deal if he didn't like figure this out. So I think that is where he was coming from, was the fact that little by little he was able to make changes, because it wasn't going to change overnight, because he started viewing when he was 11.
Yeah, and just like, I don't know, I just have found in my life expressing disappointment when somebody already knows they're messing up isn't usually productive.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it kind of makes it worse. Like, I can remember growing up, like, and my parents about things and they expressed disappointment, I was more likely to repeat what I did.
But then, what do you want them to say? Like, oh, sorry, you shouldn't do that again. I mean, what did you say?
I guess the biggest thing is just to talk to me about it. Like, what, like, you know, you could ask, like, well, why are you doing this? Do you feel like there is a need for this? Like, is there something missing in your life? Like, what got you into this in the first place? You know, yeah, you know, it's just like, you know, are there triggers? Like, just talking to them
Yes.
about it,
Triggers
I
is
feel like
huge.
is more productive than expressing disappointment.
Because they already feel
Just from
guilt.
what I have.
They already feel that they already know, like they're, because if they continue the addiction cycle, they continue this mindset of I can get away with it, I'm not hurting anybody but myself, it's not a problem, I can handle it, I have control. But then once they finally told somebody about it, then they're realizing, okay, this is an issue, I can't solve it on my own, it's affecting my life, it's affecting other people in my life. In his case, it was legal ramifications and very, very public, you know. So that's the point where you have to just be like, okay, I can't do it on my own. And so at that point, it's like, would you rather somebody, you know, rub salt in your cut, or would you rather somebody help you put a band-aid on it, even though it was probably stupid what you did to get the cut?
Well, I guess that once they come and confess, it's because they're kind of reaching out and trying to get help.
Yep. That's what I think, at least.
Oh, they also spoke about the first order of change and the second order.
Yeah, I wish they would have spent more time on that, because it was good, but I feel like I wanted more. I wanted more to understand first and second order. Because first is like superficial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the best way from my personal experience to understand that is repentance, because you can tell when you have sincerely repented and it genuinely changes your heart and behavior than when you kind of repent.
Yeah.
And really
Half-heartedly.
yeah, but really it doesn't actually change anything, but the fact that you can say that you've repented and you're going to not do it again, but then you do, you know, and that's not to say when you sincerely repent, obviously there are times that you still make mistakes and maybe it happens, like whatever it is happens again or something. But I feel like it really, like, I've sincerely repented.
Yeah.
There is literally a change in my being.
Well, I guess you're right. You know why? Because they said that they wrote 3 times.
Yeah, to the first presidency.
Yeah. And every time it was like, no, no. And they were in the process of writing again. Oh, no, it was 2 times because this was going to be the third time.
The third time, yeah. Third time's charm.
So I guess that what you're saying, Elizabeth is right. It's like they knew that he wasn't really completely, sorry.
Ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really testifies of revelation right there. I feel like when they were talking about that, it was like, whoa, like.
For sure.
Church.
For sure. Absolutely.
It's intense.
So Lexi just said she's just going to post on the discussion board because it's not working for some reason for her. I don't know why. Makes me feel really bad.
Okay.
Hey, Lydia.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Sorry. I had to go do a home visit for a class and they're like, we need you here at 7:30, so have to work with the family.
No worries.
So are you ready for the exam?
I am my own worst enemy. Like, I'll read it and I'm like, oh, I know the answer. And then I read all the options and then I doubt myself.
Yes. True story.
And when that one question that he asked in the test last week is like, are you ready for the test? Do you feel like your group did everything? I'm like, yes, they did, but I don't feel like I'm ready because I beat myself up. And then I'm like, oh, it was the right answer.
Did you attend the class, the lecture on Monday night?
Yes, hello. Anybody else hear it? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I don't see one here. One. Okay, you guys, I had the worst time ever. I had to post a video. You know, it was like my team's turn, and my partner was really hard to get a hold of. And then she was way behind because she's having like preterm labor and stuff.
Oh no.
And so trying to work on it with her became very difficult. And I'm like, okay, what do I do?
Is that for next week?
No, it was for this week. It was supposed to be on there on Monday, and I finally uploaded it today. And I spent 7 hours on it yesterday trying to get it to upload and to do its job, and it wouldn't do it. And
That was wondering because it was supposed to be Tuesday.
Yeah, I was like, I only
and then it just is not. It doesn't. I like spent all this time fixing the timing and everything on it, and and you have to click play on the clips because I had it running right. And finally, I'm just like, okay, Brother Rat, I'm just posting it, and I'm sorry it's a PowerPoint, and you have to push play yourself to make the clips run. And I'm sorry, but I was kind of alone on this, so I'm sorry.
What did he
I was
say?
like, dang it. He's like, I'm sorry you have to go through all this craziness. And, you know, people are already pointing out the things I already know, like, oh, you have to push play to make the clips play. I'm like, yes, thank you.
I'm posting mine next Monday, and I'm so nervous because
and things like
people
the
are
timing,
brutal.
the timing is off. Yes, I know.
I'm
Like,
brutal too.
Some of them you have to wait a little bit longer. I'm like, I know there's some spelling or some errors in there, but when I had one day to get it all put together, because, you know, my partner's like, I don't know how to do this and I don't know how to do that. I was like, ugh, you kidding?
I'm so glad you did the first week.
Yeah, I'm kind of wishing I would have done that.
Yeah.
I just picked a topic that seemed interesting to me, So that's why I picked this week.
What are
But
you
it's
presenting?
on this week's material. So next week it'll be about addiction and families. And my partner's awesome. We've been able to work on it together.
I'm glad because
I
that's what I was
had
hoping
it
for.
Yeah.
Instead,
So,
it got a little crazy.
I'm gonna jump on. That's all right.
Yeah, no, you got your portion done. Go have fun with your family.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks. Yeah.
See ya.
Guys, next week. Good luck with me, Sam.
You too, partner. Is there still a kickback? Oh, I still hear such bad echoing.
Has anyone heard from Lexi?
Yeah, so she couldn't get onto this. She was on the original one, but she couldn't get onto the live. So she's gonna post on the discussion board. But I actually just got my grade back for lesson 9 discussion board, which was the first discussion board that we did Hangouts live. And I got an F. Brother Brad's like, you're gonna keep posting things. I'm like, we did it on the Hangouts live. I promise I did it. So I'm just emailing your like, telling him who I was there. I did my part.
Oh. And then.
That's not right.
So what happened? He was grading that?
Yeah, he just graded my lesson 9 discussion board and gave me an F. He's like, I didn't see any posts. I'm like, but I did it. And he said multiple times, if I'm wrong, tell me. But he said, if you already have an alternate means to communicate besides the discussion board, great. But I have to see that you're talking about it, that you have done the work. He said that in his announcement, right?
Yeah.
Because that's why we decided to do the Hangouts live. So we're like, we're already talking about it. Let's just record it so that we don't have to talk about it and type it.
He gave me a D-.
Yeah, definitely go email him with the link. Because I put it in the discussion board. I just don't think he saw the link. I don't think he saw that we recorded it. So.
Did you send him an email?
I'm sending him right now.
Well, I'm gonna send him an email too. Can I just tell him that we're presenting, that you're sending a link, right?
Yes. He's gonna get like 15 emails. So, Lydia, do you have any comments about video or any questions or anything you want to talk about?
No, I was just wowed by that video and how open the families that they were. I was like, dang.
We were talking about this before you got on, how impressed we were that they were actually talking about it. Like the beginning of the video came, and I was like, he's talking about his border. But you
This is what we are. But it definitely helped give a whole different outlook on addiction and how it affects.
I'm sending Brother Brad and the email that we met for over an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope he doesn't do that for the next, like last week, because we did Hangouts on last week too.
I know.
I was going to say, here on group 9, because I put something about meeting, he said, it looks like you did post, but you did not reply to anyone else's posting. I'm like, come on.
I mean, how?
That's okay. He'll accept the hour-long discussion that we have on this. And if he doesn't,
Too bad.
I won't do anything because I'm all talk and no walk. He's a great guy. He couldn't do it to him.
He is a good guy.
But he's also a fair teacher. So he'll see you like, oh, my bad. He'll be like, it's okay, Brother Brad. Everybody makes mistakes. They all have mistakes.
We'll let you make this one.
So, when are you going to take the test, Lydia?
Saturday?
Oh, but that's when, like, everybody's response. I was going to try and take it tonight. But heck no.
No, I'm gonna read through it like crazy tomorrow, and
I'm taking it tomorrow.
Yeah, I really want to take it tomorrow too because I don't want to have to do it on the weekend. I hate taking tests on Saturday. I feel like it eats my whole day up.
hmm.
Maybe for this our study group, Lydia, you might want to tell him that you joined late. I think you joined like 30 minutes in or something. Once I post the video later, you can go look at where you joined so that he can
Yeah,
know.
that's what I just put it on the discussion board. I'm gonna put it on there.
Good idea.
I'm like, I'm gonna try that way.
See, that's not really, that's not nice. Because we're meeting and we're doing our part, and then you get it minus. That's not nice. I sent him an email already.
Okay.
How long do we need? We never need. Wow, under an hour.
Yeah, we are always talking. So Lydia, we were just talking about how for Lindsay's portion of the study guide, just to brush up on that section, and because I don't know if she's like where she's at. She hasn't come to group in the last couple of weeks, so
Right.
I hope she's okay.
Well, she just commented on my video.
Oh, maybe coming to group is hard, but she can still do the discussion board.
Yeah. And I just saw her thing on discussion board.
Was there a discussion board this week?
There's just under study group, there's a discussion board.
Oh, you mean the study? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, not
that's all. But, you know, again, she made her comments on things I already know are problems with my thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go comment on that because it's Thursday. I'll do that after this.
Yeah,
Don't be too hard on yourself, though. You did the best you could.
I keep telling myself, you know what? I think I did pretty good in 8 hours alone. So.
True story. Well, and especially the systems theory because it's pretty beefy. It's got a lot of different what's the word? Criteria.
There's a lot going on, and I was just trying to keep it kind of like the basics of what it is, like the most important parts. And literally, I put stuff on there, and I'm like, okay, just gotta read this because I gotta get this on, and it took hours and hours trying to get it on, and so finally I just went with the PowerPoint, and I'm like, I hope the clips play because it became very frustrating.
Oh, I believe it.
I mean, I had my kids in here helping me. Come on. And they're on YouTube and everything else, and then my brother comes in, and my sister comes in, and everyone's like,
Is your family still there visiting?
And finally at 10:30, I'm like, I gotta go to bed. I can't do this. I'm gonna scream.
Is your family still visiting?
So I'm just like, I feel bad for my partner for having pregnancy issues, but shoot.
Yeah. Still gotta get done.
Yeah. That's how I felt. I was like, come on, help me out here.
Is your is your family still visiting, Lydia?
Yes, because my daughter gets married next Saturday, so
Oh, that's great.
so they're still here.
You're gonna have a fun finals week.
I know. Oh, I'm like, well, it'll be entertaining, to say the least.
Is there's a temple in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that where they're getting married at?
Yes. So I was in Arizona for my brothers because they got married there, and then here in Las Vegas. Thankfully, she doesn't make us travel anywhere.
Yeah, my husband's from Wisconsin, like right outside of Chicago, and his family traveled. I was like, thanks, guys. We'll pay for most of the wedding. You just gotta come to us.
Yeah, just be here.
Yep.
That's all we need. Just be here.
Yep.
So where did you get married?
In Rexburg.
Yeah.
The Rexburg temple.
Oh yeah,
So-
because you're from there, right?
I'm from St. Anthony, which is like 20 minutes away from Rexburg. Before they built the Rexburg temple, we went to the Idaho Falls temple, which is about an hour away with traffic. But then they built the Rexburg temple, and it's like 20 minutes away. So that's my new temple.
So much closer.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much because they just announced the Idaho temple. So pretty much you will have a temple from Rexburg all the way down to Draper. Like that like 300-mile stretch, temple every town. So there's one in Brigham City. There's one in Twin Falls. There's one in Boise. Boise, Meridian, and Twin Falls are off. But still in the general area. And there's Salt Lake, there's Mount Oker or Oker Mountain. I mean, you go to Utah and there's like a certain point of the valley, you can see like all these temples. And they just announced another Utah temple, didn't they? Just recently? Maybe. But yeah, there's a lot of temples. All right. Does anybody have any other questions about the test or anything?
No.
Don't feel confident.
That's quite a term.
Our sad laughter really answers that question. Thankfully, the tests are only worth like 30 points or something. That's our grade. Or 50 maybe. But they're not like make it or break it tests. I'm taking a class next semester. 80% of my grade will be tests. And I have to take it from that professor because he's the only one who teaches that class.
Which one is it?
Brother Clay, it's a social psychology class.
Which one? What class?
Social psychology.
I thought that is something you were talking about, like abnormal psychology. No.
Oh no, I'm taking that one this semester. It's a pretty good class. Lots of tests, but not terrible. I don't know. I've gotten to the point in my schooling where I'm like, give it to me. I can do it. I just want my degree. So bad. So I try to still get good grades. I'm not to that point where I'm like, see, his gets degrees. But sometimes I think about it. Tempting.
Dang. Hey, but at least you're getting that close.
Yeah. We're all getting close. Because we're taking this for another level class. Which means we're close to graduating. That's what I tell myself.
It's like, come on, one day at a time.
When are you done, Lydia?
Sorry, what was that?
When will you be done?
Well, I'm just because of my work schedule, I'm putting off my internship, but I might be able to change it now because of the different options. I was putting it off till next summer just to try to be able to fit it all in.
Mm-hmm. If they do that family life coaching class, you could do that.
Right, and that's why I was like, oh, there's options, so
Yep.
it could be sooner.
For sure.
I mean, the thing now, we have too many options, so it's hard to decide.
I know.
Yeah.
Which route you want to go? It's like, here we go again. Yeah. So as soon as this semester is over, as soon as we hit that 14th week, I'm going to start going through and reading all those options that we have for the, internships and the different classes now, and see if we can figure that out.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if there's a change.
Yeah. The internship guy lives in Utah, I think. So there's a lot of internships available for Utah.
Because he's there.
Mm-hmm. But I'm like, what if I don't want to go to Utah? What if I hate Utah? Because I do.
You're like, what if I don't want to hang out there?
Yeah. It's not where my peeps are at.
See?
I don't have any peeps, actually. Pretty boring.
Hey, it's fun to say that stuff.
My peeps are textbooks.
I just always say minions, all the minions.
That's because you have kids.
I know.
And you can
They're
afford
not very good minions, though. They don't do all my bidding.
Emily, you were talking last week about Northern Utah.
Yeah.
And Sunday, this couple that they're serving a divorce, they were saying, we are from Northern Utah, in this tiny town of 2,000 people, and I'm like, oh, that's what she means by it.
It's a thing. I'm not bashing Utah as a whole, because there are lots of really good, awesome people there. But Utah is where Mormon culture is created. It's like the petri dish.
Yeah, it's not a great dish.
No, it's not.
You guys, I was laughing after, because, when you're talking like Idaho, Utah, Arizona. So the temple, the Gilbert Temple, had like 4 LDS churches around it and near it. It's like, that is crazy, people.
Yeah,
there's
churches left and right here.
It's intense. I was like, dang.
Again, not a bad thing that the gospel is spreading. Glorious thing that the gospel is spreading. But not a great thing that people judge you on your casserole dishes and your reupholstered chairs. And on how well you bear your testimony.
I'd probably fail then.
Yeah, me too. I don't have any reupholstered chairs. I'm a terrible casserole maker. And I bear my testimony. But I don't know if they would like it.
Mine is very short. Stick to the point and then I'm done.
Jesus wants me for Sunday. I'm a child of God. And you are important. Boom. And Joe Smith's really, really good guy.
He did his job right.
Yeah. Get in, get out. Do what's important.
Yep. Beautiful.
Gotta quote me, Lydia. Use my stuff. You gotta quote it.
Hey, I just think, you know, the great things that you learn in primary, there's nothing better. So
Yeah. That's why
it's like pure.
it's simple.
It's like the truth. Right there's the truth.
Yep.
Where you hang.
Well, I love when primary kids ask questions. Because they ask questions like, do you think Jesus really was hungry when he fasted for that long time? Like, I went without a PB&J sandwich for a couple hours and I was starving. It's like, you're so tender. Or when I had a primary kid one week, we were talking about how Jesus said with the fish and the loaves. And he was like, what if I don't like fish? I only like chicken nuggets. I probably would have said, no thanks, Jesus. I was like, you go, kid.
That was awesome.
And then another kid was like, my mom told me that Jesus drank wine. I'm going to pray for Jesus. I was like, no. Pray in the name of Jesus. Don't pray for Jesus.
We had a little guy when he was a sunbeam, and the sacrament was coming around the bread, and he picked it up and he looked at the poor kid, handing it to him, and he said, next time, can you put butter on this?
Yeah. That's funny.
Like, bless you, you're awesome.
Bless. That's what we're all thinking about on Fast Sunday. It's like you savor the bread on Fast Sunday. I hate it when there's wheat bread on Fast Sunday.
I know.
Because it's better for you, but it does not taste as good as white bread. So whenever there's white bread on Fast Sunday, I'm like,
there are blessings out there.
yes, Jesus loves me. There's Wonder Bread this week.
Yep.
All right, well, good luck on the test, ladies.
Yes, good luck to all of you.
Hopefully, Brother Brat sees that we talked for like hours. So, we're doing good.
I thought he'd totally get that.
Yeah, posted it. Said, here's the link to our discussion. Have a great week.
Make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will see you guys later.
Okay, take care.
Thank
Make
you.
good choices. See ya.
Bye.